Hello everyone, this is Venom and we are back for another Destiny 2 build. Today we have got the Void Buddy build for the Void Warlock. This is actually going to be based around the Briarbinds and exotic arms for the Warlock. And this is going to be a build that is going to be rated for the lower tier content. It's going to be stuff you're going to want to do at level. It's going to be more like campaigns type stuff. You're going to want to use this in raids campaigns. You're going to use this in your day-to-day stuff. This is not something that's going to be rated for the higher end stuff like Grandmasters. Now, I had personally taken this through a Grandmaster. However, I was able to get through it not because of what the build is capable of, although it can put out quite a bit of damage. It's more because of my own skill in knowing the Grandmaster. Now again, this can get through a Grandmaster. However, it's not going to be as efficient as some of the other builds that we would be able to use with a Warlock. So, what does this build actually do? Well, this is going to revolve around the Briarbinds, like I said. And reading it, it says, your Void Souls have a longer duration. They also gain escalating damage and durability as they defeat targets. You can retrieve your Void Souls by interacting with them, allowing them to be redeployed. Well, first off, what are Void Souls? Now, Void Souls are created with the aspect Child of the Old Gods. Now, that aspect says, cast your Rift to create a Void Soul. When you damage a target with your weapon, your Void Soul flies to them and drains them, doing damage and weakening them. And when a target is being drained, you are granted grenade and melee energy if running Healing Rift, or health if running Empowering Rift. Defeating a target who is being drained by your Void Soul grants class ability. Basically, kind of like with the Arc Soul, when you use your class ability with an Arc Warlock, you will be getting a Void Soul for this one. Now, that Void Soul is basically going to be acting kind of like a second grenade force, and that's where we're going to be playing this build. This is not going to be something that we're going to, it doesn't shoot out shoot out any projectiles like the stasis turrets do or like the Arc Soul does. This is going to be something that's going to be stationary. It's going to fly to a spot and it's going to basically do AoE damage to enemies in that area. Now, how do we play this? Well, let me show you. So the way you play the build is that you basically use your Void Soul as though it were a second grenade. It will help you recharge your abilities, but you don't want to rely on it the entire time. It is a tool, just like any other build we do, that the Void Soul is a tool to help us get energy back and to hold down areas and even do boss damage. So we're going to start off by summoning our Void Soul. Now, once we deploy this, we can pick it back up if we get to it in time. But we're going to go ahead and shoot an area where we're sure it's going to stay for a while. We're going to shoot a stronger enemy, so it's going to attach that enemy and just start draining everything in the area. Now, in the meantime, we'll take out enemies. You can see we're getting ability energy back. You can see our enemies are dying. They're taking a lot of damage. They're also all have weakness on them. I'll show that portion of the build later on. But yeah, and we can pick it up when we get there in time. I just barely missed it that time, but that's how you play this. I mean, you use it as though it is a second grenade. So in this case, we'll go ahead and shoot off to the next area. Now in this case, I can go ahead and pick it up, refreshing it, and we're going to shoot it off at the Hydra again and let it drain it and everything around it. In the meantime, while it's doing that, we can take care of everything else in the area nearer to us. Get back to it in time before it's gone. Now, if we get our class energy back full, we can get a second one. Now, we can only hold one at a time, however, so if you do have a second one, you can't pick up the other one until you get rid of the one you got, but you can continuously juggle them. So you can summon as many of these as you can get your class ability, or every time you get your class ability back, you can summon another one of these. But again, we're not relying on our Void Soul, but we are using it to facilitate our energy regen. Now you can do damage if you've got to sit back and hide. We got another one ready to go. There we go, damaging for us. We can pick this one up before it disappears. Oh, I did not mean to use that super, but that works for me. Drain it. You can see we got a couple of them out now. And again, don't rely just on them. Use your other weapons too to damage stuff. Don't try to just rely on them solely. They are only a tool. So they should enhance the weapons that you're using. They should enhance your other abilities. So you're draining the boss here. Now these don't actually stack, so if two of these are on the boss, for example, which they are, they're not going to do damage. So if you do got more than one, don't try to pull them on the same area. Go ahead and spread them out. And that's the third one we got out now. Man, that's it. That's the entire lost sector. And yeah, that's how you work the build. You pull out your arc buddy, or I keep saying arc buddy just because I'm used to there being an arc-like build. But yeah, you pull out your Void Buddy, you use it on a group of enemies, you help it recharge your skills, and that's how you work it. Again, you use it as though it is another AoE at your disposal, another grenade at your disposal, and it's a grenade that just happens to recharge all your abilities as well. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go back up to orbit and show you guys the rest of the build that will facilitate you actually doing this. Okay, so Briarbinds and Child of the Ill Gods are the two main parts of this build. The other part is going to be the Chaos Accelerant. Now, this is a very, very powerful aspect for Void Warlocks. It's actually going to improve your grenades. Now, the Void Grenade for Warlock is very, very powerful with the Chaos Accelerant. Now, I'm going to go ahead and read what this does because this is going to allow you to overcharge your grenades, and each different Void Grenade will do something different. So when you overcharge a Vortex Grenade, it increases the size and causes it to stay along longer. The Axion Bolts will create an additional Seeker. The Scatter Grenades will have some munitions tracked to nearby targets, and the Magnetic Grenade will release a short-range Void Blast. We're going to be using the Vortex Grenade because it is, again, the most powerful Void Grenade in the game. I mean, it's just awesome. It stays around long, it's got a good AoE, it does a lot of damage, and that's typically the grenade you want to use for most Void-based builds. Now, there are some different builds that will rely on, like, the Suppression Grenade, but you're not going to worry about that too much. You want to go with the Void Grenade for this one. I'm sorry, the Vortex Grenade. Now, of course, Pocket Singularity is the only melee you've got. As far as jump, whatever jump you want to use, you can use Blink if you want to, but again, I usually use Strafe Glide, but choose whichever jump you want. And as far as the Rift goes, I would definitely stick with the Healing Rift. Now, you can use the Empowering Rift if you want to. That will also cause your Void Soul to grant you health back when it is on an enemy. However, I highly recommend using the Healing Rift instead. The Healing Rift is kind of, again, that oh shit button you've got for this class and for this build. You don't want your oh shit button to take a setup to do. So if you need to suddenly heal, you don't want to have to put down your Rift and then shoot out your Void Buddy. You want that Healing Rift to go ahead and start healing you, and then use that Void Buddy to give you that energy back. You don't want that to be the reverse. You don't want to have to put down that Rift and then shoot out the Buddy, then to slowly heal you. You could be dead by then. So Healing Rift, Healing Rift, Healing Rift, Healing Rift. Do not try to do the Empowered Rift. I would definitely go with Healing Rift for this particular build. Now, as far as the fragments, we've got the Echo of Starvation. Picking up a Void Breach or Overpower will grant you Devour. Of course, Devour is very powerful. When you get killed, it's going to give you a huge chunk of your health back. It's going to also help you stay alive with this. You are going to be making a lot of Void Breachers and a lot of Orbs of Power with this build as well. Now, along with that is going to be the Echo of Harvest. Defeating weakened targets creates an Orb of Power and a Void Breach. Your Void Soul will actually weaken enemies when it hits it. So enemies you kill with your Void Soul is going to cause them to be weakened, and it's going to cause them to not only drop an Overpower, but to drop a Void Breach. So you've got two different ways of getting additional power. Because of course the Void Breaches give you class energy back. So not only are you getting a chunk of class energy back, you're also going to get back whatever power from that Overpower that we have set up on our leg armor mods, which we'll go over later. Next up, we've got the Echo of Undermining. This makes it to where your Void Grenades weaken targets. You can technically switch this one out for another one. It does take 20 Discipline off of your build, and you do need Discipline for this build, so if you're having trouble building into Discipline, you can remove this one for a different one. You can put on something like Echo of Vigilance to help you with your Overshield, or even something like Echo of Cessation. But if you do have the build capacity, I would go ahead and put on Echo of Undermining. It's just one more way to not only weaken enemies, which will cause you to get an Overpower, but again, it's going to make your grenade stronger because any enemy hit by a grenade will automatically be weakened. That's automatically going to make your grenades stronger because any enemy hit by them are weak. And then finally, the Echo Stability. Defeating targets with your grenades will grant you volatile rounds to Void weapons. It's just one more way to get volatile rounds on your weapons on any Void class. I highly recommend having this on every build if you have a Void build and you do plan on using Void weapons. Most of the time, this is going to be the easiest way for you to get volatile rounds unless you're using like a Falcon's Hunter build. Now, as far as your super, you got two choices for a PvE. You can use Cataclysm or you can use Vortex. Nova Warp is a PvP type skill. Even then, I don't see a lot of people using it, but that's not one you're going to typically want to use. Personally, I like using Cataclysm, but you can use Vortex if you like to. There are pros and cons to both. Cataclysm can kind of block some shots, but it does do a bit more damage if I'm not mistaken. But it can block your shots. There's pros and cons to both. Go ahead and use whichever one you are comfortable with. I would not use a Nova Warp, though, for PvE content. As far as your stat spread goes, you do want to have the 100 Resilience, like always. After that, 100 Discipline. Anything after that is what you want to, whatever you want to do. I'd probably go ahead and put stuff in the intellect if you want to get your super cooldown quicker. Obviously you see mine is not that high. I don't typically build for that, but again, I'm a sociopath, so it is what it is. But yeah, resilience and discipline are going to be the two you want up there. Past that, it's really whatever you want. You're going to be getting plenty of ability energy back because of this build, so you don't really have to worry about the rest of the stats too much. It will help get the energy back even quicker, but the priority is going to be that discipline and the resilience. Now, this is going to be the first build I think I've showed off where you don't actually need to have the heavy ammo finder and the heavy ammo scouts on here. Now, you can swap out the ashes to assets, and I do recommend having 2 of them on here. You can swap those out for the heavy ammo mods if you want to. However, your grenades on the Warlock are going to be like heavy weapons themselves, so you really don't have to worry about that. Now, if you do want to go ahead and worry about your heavy weapons, go ahead and toss in a heavy ammo finder. I would definitely keep ashes to assets on just to help build up that super quicker. You're going to get a lot more out of your super and out of your grenades than you are going to out of your heavy weapons for a build like this. Warlocks have very, very powerful grenades, and they can get their supers back very quickly. But, like I said, I definitely recommend doing ashes to assets over heavy ammo, but if you really, really want to, you can. I've also got a copy of Dynamo on here. You can also run a copy of a Harmonic Siphon if you want to, or any other Siphon mod if you wish. However, you're going to be getting plenty of Orbs of Power and plenty of Void Breachers without having those on there. So instead, I'd put a copy of Dynamo to help get your cooldown reduced quicker. Next up, we've got the Firepower mod. Again, there's going to be one more way to create Orbs of Power using your grenades. You will have your grenades back quite a bit with this build. So go ahead and toss that one on there. I would not worry about heavy-handed at all. You're going to get a lot more out of your grenades. And then I would also go ahead and toss in a couple bolstering detonations. And this is going to give you class ability when you cause damage with your grenades. Again, you're going to be doing a lot of damage with grenades. So use those grenades to give you back class ability. That class ability will help you deploy your Void Soul. And that Void Soul will help give you abilities for all of your abilities. Or give you energy for all of your abilities. So I would go ahead and use that one. Again, anything you can to charge up your class abilities, we're going to try to toss on here. Now, for chest mods, again, there's really no standard mods on here that you want. It's going to really depend on what content you're doing. The resistance mods will depend entirely on what it is you're doing. So if you're doing something with a lot of arc damage, you're going to want some arc resistance. If you're fighting out something with a lot of long-range stuff, you're going to want sniper resistance. And it's something that's got like a lot of grenades that have like pools of fire, you're going to want something like Concussive Dampener. Past that, any kind of reserve mods you want to, go ahead and toss on there. If you got any heavy weapons you really want extra reserves for, or any special weapons you want any extra reserves for. Now, back to required mods, we have got 3 mods you're going to want to have on here. The Absolution mod, the Insulation mod, and the Intervention mod, or Innervation mod. So Absolution is going to give you energy for all your abilities when you pick up an Overpower. Of course, we're going to be getting lots of Orbs of Power with this build. The Insulation mod is going to specifically give you additional class energy when you pick up an Overpower. And the Innervation will give you grenade energy when you pick up an Overpower. Now, you could swap the Innervation mod out for a Recuperation if you really want to, and you want that extra healing. You don't have to. This build should keep you topped off because you should be in your Rift most of the time. But if you're not comfortable and you want that extra healing, go ahead and toss in Recuperation instead of that Innervation. But make sure you keep Insulation on so that you get that extra class energy whenever you pick an Overpower, because that class energy is what is the backbone of this build. And then finally, I would have on a Reaper mod. This makes it to where whenever you use your class ability and then get a kill right afterwards, that's going to generate an Overpower. Again, we're going to be using our class ability quite a bit, and quite oftentimes when you are using your class ability and you launch that Void Soul out, that's going to kill something fairly quickly. So that'll oftentimes proc that itself, but typically you're going to use your class ability and just get a weapon kill quickly. It's going to be a quick Overpower, just one more way to get an orb. Powerful Attraction is going to be another one I recommend to bring any orbs of power close to you. They're going to suck right to you when you use your class ability, which you will be using often. And I'm going to go ahead and toss on a copy of the Bomber mod, which will reduce your grenade cooldown when you use your class ability. There's not typically a whole lot of melee stuff focused for Warlocks, especially for Void Warlocks, but grenades and class abilities definitely will feed into each other quite a bit. And that is the build, guys. This is the Child of the Elgar's build that revolves around Briarbinds. This is a very, very fun build to run. I like running this one and pretty much any content that's not Grandmaster. If I don't have anything specific I've got to do, say for like my Hunter, or if I don't have any seasonal content I got to do, if I'm just screwing around, this is a build I typically hop on. This is the last of my pretty much standard builds that I run. As of this point going forward, there's not going to be any previews for what my next build will be because I've already gone over the 6 main builds that I use. Going forward, I'm still going to be doing build videos, but I'm just not going to have a preview for the build at the end of it for, more than likely because I don't know what the next build video is going to be. Now, I knew what these first initial 6 are going to be because these 6 builds are the builds that I use for all of my playthroughs. I did my 2 Titan builds. They're both Stronghold builds, one for Solar, one for Strand. I did my 2 main builds for my Hunter, my Falcons, and my Omniaculus build. And I've got my 2 main builds that I use for my Warlock. I've got my Stasis Turn build, and I've got my Briarbind build. Each one of those builds is a build you might notice that is rated 1 for Grandmasters and 1 for at-level content. So I wanted to kind of even those up and give everybody one build for kind of everything for no matter what content they're going to be doing PvE-wise, no matter what class you've got. So I've already covered a build for each class that can get you through whatever content you want. Going forward, I'm just going to be doing whatever build video I want to do or I've got lined up at the time. So, yeah, that's kind of got my base 6 builds down, so we're kind of hit a bit of a milestone now. So yeah, that is the build. That is the 6 milestone builds I've got knocked out now with the conclusion of this one. Going forward, like I said, I've already got a list of build videos I'm going to be doing. I'm just not going to have the preview at the end of it anymore. So again, not a bad thing. This is just I want to get those 6 builds out of the way, and I've got them. So I'm reaching milestone goals for the channel. I'm really happy with that. So that being said, thank you guys for coming by. If you like what we're doing on the channel, please subs. We're going to be having more build videos coming out. And in fact, I'm going to be making one directly after this because I've already got quite a few I want to do videos on today. I'm kind of motivated right now. Please leave a like on the video. And if you want to see any build videos, any kind of videos for any exotic you guys want me to make a build about, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys want to make, what you guys want to see. Thank y'all for coming by, and I will see you guys later.